Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Outside Insider podcast here on Philly Sports Network with myself, Liam Jenkins. You know the score by now. All things Eagles related, the last 7 days, wrapped up and just put inside whatever we have left of this Eagles season. There's not a lot, it's the leftovers from Thanksgiving. Someone's got to sift through them. That someone is me, unfortunately. So welcome to the show. If you're new around here, thank you for taking time out of your day to tune in. It means a lot. If you're already subscribed, I'll give you a big soppy speech at the end. I love you eternally, and I hope you had a great holiday. If you're an Apple podcast, you know, you've got a new iPhone in Black Friday. Christmas is coming up. I see you walking around with your iPad, listening to it on there. Now's the time, go on Apple Podcasts and leave a rating. Just say, listen, sometimes LJ does have a dodgy haircut. His voice is very high-pitched and annoying, but his Eagles takes are alright and he's a little bit funny sometimes. That'll do fine, alright? Get it to a nice even number before Christmas. That'd be excellent. I honestly didn't know how to start this week's podcast because whatever topic I looked at seemed to stress me out even more. I'll give you an example. We either start with the Miami Dolphins game. Speaks for itself. We either start with whatever the hell happened to the Dallas Cowboys last night, or we start with the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. Yeah? It doesn't look good, however we begin it. So what I wanted to do, actually, was start a slightly different way. Now, Thank You Next, typically, is a part of the show where I answer your questions. To send them in, you tweet me, at Liam Jenkins PSN, with your Eagles-related questions. I answer them on the show. It's a nice, simple premise. I got an email on Wednesday. I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to read it out, alright? Because I'm still a bit taken aback as to just everything, alright? Hear me out. This is the email I received on Wednesday, okay? So questions normally come in on a Friday. And if he's listening, alright, James, a fan of the show, apparently. So he knows the score. He knows how this works, alright? Hey, LJ. I don't have social media, so wanted to ask a question for this week's podcast. Do you ski? Thanks, James. I don't know where to start with that, or where to end, or even ask why that happened. I'm gone. I haven't got a Scooby-Doo, James, to be honest with you, mate. Why that's not only been asked as a question, but the thought train to be listening to an episode of whatever the hell goes on in this podcast at this stage and goes, I wonder if LJ skis. I'll ask him. I'll send him an email. Fair play. I respect the hustle. I respect the commitment. Obviously, thank you for listening as well. To answer your question, James, no, I do not. I can barely walk in a straight line, just like the Eagles at this point. They're like waddling toddlers. And I think that's the best way to lead us into, I guess, a bit of a rant, a bit of agitation that's going to come out surrounding this team now, because last night, the Dallas Cowboys shockingly gave the Eagles another lifeline, which means if they win on Monday night, they're tied for the division again. I don't know how many more chances this team needs. Alright, for the last month and a half, it has been must win game, then choke, lost, disappointing, heartbreak, can't be bothered, turn it off, gonna go watch The Office. It's been unbearably frustrating. And we've now at a point where the coaching staff are saying they're sick to their stomachs, that players are infuriated and leaders on that team are refusing to talk to the media after a game. I sat here 7 days ago saying that the game against Miami had to be a statement game. And do you know what? It very nearly was. I say nearly, I mean the first quarter, really. It started out first play of the game, a Ronald Darby interception. That's about the highlight of his season, if we're honest. And then after that, the Eagles have good field position. They go up 7-0. They go up 10-0, and then it just went downhill after that, didn't it? And I know it's easy to say, hey, it's on the defense, but the offense that realistically had an onside kick recovery to start the second half. They had a touchdown off an interception, which started them in their own, the Dolphins territory. Like, when they had to start driving down the field, they didn't do a lot, did they? Yeah? Second half especially, didn't do a lot. You had a drive late on where Jake Elliott missed a field goal after a dropped Zaka third down, or second down I should say. It's just a mess. It was a mess of a game. And even thinking about it now and having to go back through that tape again infuriates me. But what's even more frustrating is the fact that this team somehow still has a chance to win the division. It's like being at a wedding that you really don't want to be at, but you've been cajoled into going to. You've been told by your missus or your friends that it'll be fun, it's a free bar, we get to see Jonathan again, and Jonathan's getting married, and he's one of the lads. Like, you're at the wedding, alright, you're like, this is awful, I'm going home. And just as you're about to leave, just as you're about to get out, Jonathan, also known as the Dallas Cowboys, goes, where are you going? We haven't even done the Agadoo yet. Shake pineapple, shake a tree. We haven't even done the YMCA. We haven't done the conga. Get back in there. Go on, get yourself a nice spritzer. Yeah, you'll be fine. And you're stuck in that. And the more you try to leave, the more you try to dip, the more people you bump into. It's annoying. No one wants to be there. I don't know who is going to win this division. It's to the point where Washington can win it by now. Why are these teams so bad is beyond me. I think Dallas made a point last night saying, it's been, Dallas have got better players. I don't think they have. Or they've got a very deficient coaching staff who are somehow making the Eagles' play calling look moderately acceptable. Dak Prescott was woeful. David Montgomery ran all over them. I've genuinely got no words to sum up what happened last night. If Mitch Trubisky can start throwing 2-yard passes all over you, it's not a good look. It's the ultimate stat padding cause, but holy heavens, just not a good look, is it? The thing is, though, that I don't know why wedding bells are playing, if you can hear this. My office is situated by a church, so maybe it's symbolic. Maybe we're going to fall in love with the Eagles, who knows? But for Dallas, the road doesn't exactly get easier, which is, I don't know if it's good or bad news at this stage. But they face the Rams next week, the Eagles the week after, and then I think they end it against the Redskins. That's tough, because in that Week 17 game, technically right now, could be the Redskins' bid at a playoff berth. I would love it. I would love to see the Redskins, who are 2-9, come back and make the play. It would be incredible. I would love it so much on so many levels, just because it serves every other team right for letting that happen, really. It's kind of like an I told you so moment. But for the Eagles, the road couldn't get any easier. For Dallas, it doesn't get easier. For the Eagles, it couldn't physically be easier. I don't know what more you want. Last year was the excuse of, they had a bad schedule and there are lots of injuries. Well, this time, injuries aren't that big a deal. I know we've had a lot about Jordan Howard. We've spoke about Deshaun Jackson. Matt Collins is gone. Let's not go down there. But there's been a few injuries, alright, especially at wide receiver, I know. And we had Lane Johnson out with a concussion for a bit, and the secondary was depleted, but played better before. It's not as bad as it was last year, is it? Last year, you had no defensive tackles, no cornerbacks, you had no wide receivers at one point. That was shocking. This year isn't that bad, okay? So you now go from that facing a horrible schedule. You had to face the Texans, the Rams, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Saints. It was a horrible schedule on that back end. And now you face the Giants twice, the Redskins, and the Cowboys. There's literally no way this could be easier. And I sat here again a week ago saying this has to be an identity game. This has to be a game the Eagles play bully ball with the Dolphins. They just bully them into submission, find their offensive identity. They can have a moment when they're in a tunnel going, you all doubted us, you all doubted us. I'm like, yeah, because you're bad, you're an awful team. That's not doubting, that's an honest observation of you playing like trash, right? They can have that moment, get the underdog mentality, go out, carry it into the playoffs, and then find their identity and go on a run. That didn't happen. And somehow, we've come full 360 and we're back here again. I don't know how many more chances this team can have. How many more chances Carson Wentz can have now that he's got a receiving corps to some extent back. Arcega-Whiteside caught his first touchdown. Good for him. It only took him 28 years to get implemented into the offense. I don't know. I genuinely, if they don't beat the Giants, I dread to think what next Friday's podcast is going to sound like. That's all I can say. This is a must-win. But then last week's game was a must-win. Game before that was sort of a must-win. And the Patriots were kind of a should-win. You could go out and make an impact and it would make life a lot easier. I just genuinely don't understand how this team continue to shoot itself in the foot and get away with it. It's like, there's always that one friend in a relationship they shouldn't be in where one of them keeps cheating on the other one and they end up keep taking them back over and over again. And it's like, at some point, just cut the cord and go. Like, stop. Like, this is the 7th time in a week. That's a bit extreme, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's shocking. It really is shocking. And I hope the Eagles go out and they play bully ball with the Giants and they make Eli Manning, like, they retire. They have a chance to retire Eli Manning. Put it that way. If Eli Manning comes back now and plays woefully, there's a chance that this could be the last time the Eagles play him. Well, maybe the second game. They have a chance to ruin that legacy after 15 years of quarterback play, to put it into the ground and say the last living memory we have of Eli Manning is a shocking performance against the Eagles. Will that happen? I don't know. But if the Eagles have any life left, this is no longer, this is a must-win game if they're going to make the playoffs. This is if they don't win this game, this team is being deconstructed in the offseason. Alright, Howie Roseman has done a very good job, a very sneaky job. Alright, amidst all this turmoil, amidst all these cracks, amidst all the fractures and the Orlando Scandrick undisputed appearance and the guaranteed wins against Dallas and the anonymous sources, amongst all of that, Howie Roseman has extended Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks to massive extensions, along with 2 special teamers in Jake Elliott and Rick Lovato. May not sound like much. You've now got a franchise kicker for the first time since David Akers. Rick Lovato is Rick Lovato. He ain't going anywhere, alright? But more importantly, that offensive line, Lane Johnson is going nowhere. Brandon Brooks is going nowhere. That's 4 more years after this year. Conveniently, the same length that Carson Wentz is now contracted with this team. So through 2024, you've got arguably the best right tackle in the league, the best right guard in the league, Carson Wentz, and who's on the left? Andre Dillard, who will have 4 years left on his deal. That's a Super Bowl window of an offensive line. Sayamalo is a serviceable starter. He got an extension this offseason. The only problem that you've got to worry about really is Jason Kelce and his future. You've got a running back in Miles Sanders, who has 4 years left on his deal. You'll have J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, 4 years left on his deal. You've got a foundation of an offense to build around. Deshaun Jackson won't be here forever. If you can squeeze the juice, if you can ring that orange one more time, get 1 more year out of him, bring in a wide receiver, that's a Super Bowl window. Alright, Alshon Jeffrey, you can get 1 more year out of him. Stick Arcega-Whiteside in the slot, get a slot receiver in the draft, whatever. Alright, it's a foundation to build around. Defense, Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson, cornerstones defensive tackles. BG outside, Derek Barnett's probably going to get an option at some point. Obviously Josh Sweat behind them. Like, you've got a group there now that can thrive. Linebackers, I don't value them anyway. I don't know why they exist. Cornerbacks are gone. Safeties, that's a mess, right? The point is, though, the foundation of that offense to build around has now been set. Which means anyone that has not got a contract past 2 years, even Alshon Jeffrey, and his stupidly guaranteed money. Hey, if the Raiders can get rid of Antonio Brown, if the Steelers can get rid of Antonio Brown, Alshon Jeffrey, really? I'm just saying, I genuinely think that if the Eagles do, this isn't a case of the Eagles must win this game to keep playoff hopes alive. If they do not win this game, and they go into New York wearing their black jerseys, and they lay another egg, and the identity of that team is gone, you can expect names like Alshon Jeffrey, Nigel Bradham, Ronald Darby, basically anyone that has not been extended, that is not a key cornerstone in this team, gone. And it is cutthroat. It's as simple as that, right? I genuinely believe this now. This is no longer about the playoffs. This is keeping a Super Bowl window alive. One which Roseman worked very hard to build for Doug Peterson. There's no need for that, Horn, if you heard that, alright? One where, Roseman worked very hard to build. Peterson took advantage in 2017. They survived a hangover last year. They gave themselves a shot. They were 1 play short. 2019 has been a train wreck. And you better believe that Roseman is sitting there determined not to let this get away from him. Because sooner or later, the pressure's going to creep back up. The 2019 free agency class was a mess. a mess. They're all gone. It's a shocking 2019 free agency class. This is no longer win if we want to keep the playoffs alive. If they lose this game, everyone outside of Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, Carson Wentz, any of the rookies drafted this year, arguably Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, the big names on this team are susceptible to being cleaned out. Coaching staff as well. I don't want to see Carson Walsh's name even associated with this team after this offseason. He's been about as useful to this team as DeMarco Murray was in 2015. I want to see change. Like, offensive coordinator Mike Groh, it somehow says the wrong thing every time. Like, every time he has a press conference, he somehow manages to balls it up and say something wrong. Jim Schwartz, he's on the line, alright? He's 50-50. I'm not too brutal on him just yet, alright? I gave Mike Groh a lot of slack last year. He goes if they don't make the playoffs. This team will be deconstructed if they do not win the playoffs. And that starts with this game. That starts in New York. You've had every chance under the sun. You've had game after game after chance after lifeline, and you've squandered them all. It stops now. This is out of line. It's out of order. I'm trying not to swear here. It ends. It has to end. The Eagles have to beat the Giants. If they don't, clean shot, get it done. I've had enough. Blow the team up and reinvigorate a new Super Bowl window. The only structures that will remain after that nuclear bomb are the buildings that are built with a solid foundation. And we're talking Carson Wentz, the offensive line, the defensive line, the rest of them. Blow it up, bring in the new generation, and let's go again. Because that's what's needed. Not just players, but coaching staff. Fans are sick of it. Coaches are sick of it. Players are sick of it. Philly's sick of it. It's win in New York or it's start again. And on that note, we're going to go to thank you next now. So if you want to listen to the rest of this podcast and you're on YouTube, hello. The rest of the show is coming out soon. If not, don't worry. And we'll see you soon.